Zendaya had finally found a break in her hectic schedule. She needed to escape the glitz and chaos of Los Angeles, even if just for a night. A small, cozy restaurant from her childhood came to mind, a place where she had shared countless dinners with her family. It wasn't flashy, but it was warm, familiar, and comforting. That evening, she decided to go alone, hoping to enjoy a quiet meal with nothing but her thoughts and the nostalgia of simpler times. As she stepped inside, the scent of home-cooked meals filled the air and soft jazz played in the background. The wooden tables, the faded photos on the walls, nothing had changed. A waiter immediately recognized her, but he could tell from her expression that tonight, she didn't want to be a celebrity, just another diner. She was led to a small table by the window, far from the other guests. As she skimmed the menu, something, or rather, someone, caught her attention. At the far end of the restaurant, an elderly man sat alone, staring out the window. His food remained untouched, and there was a deep sadness in his eyes. Zendaya had always been able to read people, and this man's pain was almost tangible. When the waiter returned to take her order, she asked quietly, "That gentleman over there, is he okay?" The waiter sighed, his smile fading. "That's Mr. Thompson. He's been coming here every week for years. He used to dine with his wife, but she passed away last year. Since then, he still comes at the same time, sits at the same table, and pretends she's still here." Zendaya felt her chest tighten. Losing someone you love? That kind of pain never truly faded. Some people moved on, while others, like Mr. Thompson, found solace in memories, even if they were only shadows of what once was. As she waited for her meal, Zendaya kept glancing at him. He wasn't just sitting there, he was having a silent conversation with the empty chair across from him. Sometimes he smiled faintly, sometimes he let out a deep sigh. It was as if she was still there, right in front of him, just beyond what the rest of the world could see. Zendaya leaned toward the waiter and whispered, "Can you do me a favor? Cover his meal for me. But don't tell him it was me." The waiter looked surprised, but nodded, disappearing into the kitchen. Zendaya wasn't sure what kind of reaction to expect. But that didn't matter. What mattered was letting this man know, without words, that he wasn't alone. A few moments later, Mr. Thompson seemed confused as the waiter murmured something to him. His brows furrowed, and he looked around as if trying to spot the person responsible. The restaurant was full of strangers, but when his eyes landed on Zendaya, something clicked. For a brief second, they made eye contact. Zendaya gave him a small, knowing smile. Mr. Thompson hesitated, then lowered his head in quiet gratitude. And then, something unexpected happened. He reached into his pocket and carefully pulled out an old, creased photo. He placed it gently on the table. The picture showed a much younger version of himself and a beautiful woman, both laughing, sitting in this very restaurant. His fingers ran over the image, and though Zendaya couldn't hear him, she saw his lips move. "You're still here, aren't you?" Zendaya didn't hear the words, but she felt them. Some love stories never truly ended. They just changed shape, lingering in the quiet moments, the unspoken gestures, the familiar places that held their memories. When Mr. Thompson finally stood up to leave, the waiter informed him that his meal had been taken care of. He paused, scanning the room once more, and then his gaze returned to Zendaya. This time he smiled, a real, genuine smile. It was small, but it carried years of gratitude, love, and loss all at once. Zendaya watched him walk out into the night, knowing she had made a difference, even if just for a moment. Sometimes, kindness didn't need words. Sometimes the smallest gesture could remind someone that they weren't alone. And that night, for the first time in a long time, an old man didn't feel quite so lonely.